inmate at a federal prison. This call is being recorded and is subject to monitoring. Hang up to decline the call or to accept, dial 5 now. If you wish to block any future calls of this nature, dial 7 now.
Yes, boss.
Hey, man, I have several questions and comments for you, but you go first, sir.
Oh, I was just going to tell you that Marie's phone died, and so I had to make a $3 call to Marie.
Oh.
And Broden's and B's phone still doesn't work.
Okay, I sent a message to the In Touch Calling, and they claim that it is. I'm gonna tell them that not.
If you dial it, it rings, then it goes. It doesn't.
Okay.
You know?
All right. I will send them a message back. I'll send them a message back and complain, and we'll see what they say.
Okay.
All right.
And also,
yep.
all the math I sent you was wrong yesterday as far as how much money it was going to make, because Jeremiah gave me wrong figures.
Okay.
So I just sent you a clarifying email. Just forward all of them to Mr. B, because he says he's interested in helping out on, getting one for his church. And the good news is the figures that were wrong. When I fixed those figures, it raised the money earning. Did not lower it.
Oh, great.
Oh yeah, a 1-foot rotor literally makes like 700,000 a month at 450 RPMs. Yeah, you'll see it when it comes. But anyway,
okay. All right.
Yeah. What was your question?
Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna send a message to In Touch about B and Marie. Also, I got this huge package from you. It looks like you put $22 worth of postage on it, man, and I don't know, 300 or 400 pages. I guess over time, I can't do it, in one day, but over a period of weeks.
Oh, I know.
I'm gonna try to scan this.
I thought you might look through there and see what you have interest in.
Okay, is any of this to remain private? Is any of this, from your perspective, do you want it to remain private? Because if not, I might just post.
No, I wanted to give you. I had to lower my locker because if I do get released, I just got too much stuff. I can't carry all this out here.
No, that's cool. Okay.
And I thought if it's stuff your readers are interested in reading, you can scan it and stick it all on whatever. But,
got it.
I'm just trying to give you a little of everything there because I was cleaning out my locker and I got one more package to send you. But
okay.
It's working.
All right. And also, we are getting inquiries from people who are interested about innocent men and women in prison, such as yourself, political prisoners, and how I describe lots of aspects about you. Not only are you a genius that has inventions which will change the world, you were a successful businessman with a copper mineral water before they targeted you. I talk about your, the only reason you're in prison is because of a pedophile valor thief named Elvin Joe Swisher, and I give a link where they can go learn about him. And then I also say that you won your appeals at the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, but the prosecution asked for an en banc panel, and that you lost 5-4. And if just one judge out of that 5-4 decision had changed their mind and voted in another way, you would be a free man today. Is everything I said pretty much accurate when I describe like a summary of you?
Yes.
Okay, and then I point them to Cesspool of Judicial Corruption, when I tell them to watch that video, and then I give them links to where they can listen to your own voice calling from prison. So there are people that are inquiring, and we're doing our best, and I know it may seem like from your perspective, that it just goes on and on and on, and I can't imagine, being in your situation, but, all I can say is we keep hitting on this brick wall, and hopefully it will,
from a federal prison.
Hopefully it will break down at one point in time.
I get a lot of, naysayers. My own father, when you read that email I sent him, he tells me that the YouTube video is a fraud, that it's not real, it's not mine, and on and on and on and on,
Yeah. And let me interrupt you. Let me interrupt you, David. I'm sorry. So I am scheduled to interview Jeremiah later today. And if you have, I'm going to ask him questions that I can think of. I've only got like a couple hours before the interview is actually scheduled, but I'm going to ask him the questions that I can think of. But if you have specific questions that you want me to specifically ask him for the public to know about in whatever time we have left, please share those with me, because I want to make sure it's a very informative interview for anybody that has inquiries into your invention. And we're going to focus not on the copper water, but on the GALT motor. And he also wants to talk about this Tesla turbine that he's building as well.
Right. Well, the problem with the Tesla turbine in the past was that this thing actually works, and it rotates very, very fast. And I've known about this for many years, but the problem has always been when you rotate those discs very, very fast, they get bigger, kind of like a clock. You know how a clock slowly moves? You can't really see it move because it's really slowly moving. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like watching grass grow. And after it runs for a few hours, the rotors start hitting and rubbing on the housing, and this is why Tesla gave up on it. You with me?
Okay.
But I know he's real excited about it. I'm just not as excited as he is because, to me, it's not. I mean, it's really a great invention, but I had an idea for it to make it even better than what he thought. Now it's his idea, I guess, but if it really does what he says it does, which I believe it does, it would be really good in air conditioning. Okay.
Okay.
Because basically, in other words, it would self mojo, and it would make lots of cold on one side and lots of heat on the other, and it would be just perfect for air conditioning. And I did find a material that would 100% withstand the high G-forces of those high RPMs, and believe it or not, it would be ceramics.
Okay, he talks about the thing. I don't know if he was referring to your GALT motor or the Tesla turbine, but he talks about getting enough RPMs where it resonates. But again, I'm gonna ask you while we're on the phone, and we have another 9 minutes. If there's any questions you want me to ask him that you think the public needs to know specifically about your GALT motor, let me know.
Okay, he wants to find out when it resonates. I personally think the thing's going to rotate without a motor on top. I think it will find its own self-resonation.
Okay.
But nobody knows for sure. So at this point, what I wanted to do is put a standard AC motor on the top, right off the shelf. I want to get one that will actually produce free electricity if it's being driven, because I think this thing's actually going to be used as a brake to slow it down. You know what I'm saying? I want a motor to gauge the rotor speed, and I want a dial on a controller where I can set it at 450 RPMs and crank it right up to 9,000 RPMs. I just want to go with what's on the shelf. I'm telling you what I want. Jeremiah wants to put the, he wants to put the GALT turbine on there and really smoke that thing in high gear. That's all good, and it's a great experiment. But so what I'm trying to get Jeremiah to realize is we need to build one that we could set somewhere that earns money and quit playing around with all this stuff that we're testing. In other words, at some point we have to do something to earn some money. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm having a hard time getting Jeremiah to focus on the money shot. Now, Jeremiah is a brilliant person, and so is Nikola Tesla. Tesla, during his day, only had one money shot. It was the AC, the meter on every house. He gave it up because he had 100 other inventions, but all of them...
This call is from a federal prison.
They weren't the money shot. They weren't ready to be on every house where everybody sends a check. This is the problem. And day after day, week after week, Jeremiah keeps getting sidetracked.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
We need a GALT, full size, hooked up somewhere where the check is coming so that, I know it's Babylonian money, I know it's usury fraud, I know all that stuff, but we still need some of it to fight the war that we got going here. And at some point, you have to use what you got and get some money flowing.
Yeah. No, that makes, I understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So I'm giving you my perspective.
Yeah.
We have a standard magneto. The GALT is actually a magneto. It is not a generator. It is not a transformer. It is a magneto. It's identical to the one in every Briggs & Stratton lawnmower, except for the fact it's an AC magneto instead of a DC magneto. So as the magnets, first the north roars past the coil, then the south goes past the coil, and the north goes past the coil, and this is what makes the free energy show up in the coils. Now, what's interesting about our design is when you plug the stators in, because there's coils, on the stators. When you plug those in the picture you can see that the north, the stators are changing their pole direction 60 times a second. So you've got the stator poles are going north-south really fast. They're flickering back and forth between north and south, whereas the rotor poles are solidly staying the same. So what ends up happening is when the stator is south, it grabs the north nub of the rotor and it yanks it to top dead center, and then the stator changes its pole and pushes the nub forward. That is why it violates the law of Lenz, is because as it makes electricity, it's pulling the magnet north to the stop dead center of the stator, and then it's shoving the north onward, if I'm making any sense. So what ends up happening is it doesn't take any energy to spin the shaft. Now, if you look at Duke Energy, they're burning 120,000 tons of coal every 24 hours to spin 2 500,000 horsepower shafts. Now, that is about $6 million a day in coal being burnt. That's 120,000 tons. It's a lot of coal. And they're burning that every day because they're not violating the law of Lenz. So what we're trying to do is get this thing to self-mojo and then feed the energy into the grid without having to buy the oil, without having to buy the coal, without having to buy any nuclear reactors or uranium. And this, what we're basically doing is taking the cost of the energy out of the energy. So we could sell it for, say, 4 cents a kilowatt, which is a low price, but we have a 99.9999% profit margin because in the first hour and a half we break even. In the first hour and a half we earn the money that pays for that I keep trying to use the word transformer, for that magneto. Okay?
Gotcha.
So that's my summary. You wanted a great summary. I can run over and get my exact figures as to how much it would make if you'd like to hear that.
You bet. I do have another follow-up question. I know our time is so precious while we're on the phone, but you sent me another email, another letter, and inside that letter was 3 GALT drawings, 101-AA1-2. Yep.
I'm back.
Okay, I have another follow-up question for you. You sent me another letter. Inside that letter was 3 GALT drawings and 2 math pieces of paper, which I have scanned, but I did not publish them, and I don't know who you want me to send them to.
I'll send those to Guy and Jeremiah.
Okay, I will.
And that's the main one, and Derek, send it to Derek and Dennis Chan. Just send it to all those people because I show some struts welded in there.
All right.
Let's see. Okay. So it looks like the dollar amount on a 1-foot rotor, this will blow your mind. Dollars earned, the kilowatts coming out of a 1-foot rotor, this is a 2-foot cabinet, okay, is 6,410 kilowatts constant, times the 4-coil configuration, times 24 hours a day, times 30 days in a month, times 0.04 cents per kilowatt hour, okay, equals $738,000. Actually, it's $738,432 a month with a 1-foot rotor. Now, if you times it by 10 and you increase the speed of the rotor by 10, it jumps to $7,384,320. And you can rotate that rotor times 20, and it jumps to $14,768,640. That is a lot of dang energy.
Yeah. Wow.
But met glass is 5 times stronger, more magnetic than regular steel. So building this 1-foot rotor is equivalent to having a 5-foot rotor because we're using this met glass. Now, the other one I had, to quote you, was a 16-inch rotor. And believe it or not, when you go from 1 inch to 16 inches, everything doubles. Can you imagine that? So the kilowatts per hour runs 12,604 times 4-coil configuration times 24 times 30 times the 0.04 kilowatt hours, which is a real low price, okay, equals $1,451,980 a month. Times that by 10, it's 14 million. Times by 20, it's $29,396,600 a month. We're talking unbelievable amounts of money that this thing's going to generate. This is why I get so excited and want to move forward with it.
Well, I am
I'm broke and I'm poor.
I'm going to pray that God protects you, because if your motor will change the world as you say it will, they're going to want to take you out. So you need God's protection around you. So.
Yeah, we do. I love you, and
all right.
we're out of time.
We love you too. We love you too, David.
Have a nice interview with Jeremiah.
Okay.
Try to keep him focused on GALT as much as possible.
Okay, we love you, David.
Okay.
Okay, bye-bye.